Good day, everyone. Today we are going to work with a game state. So the problem that I was having yesterday, if you were watching, is that I am trying to basically take my game, or rather in my game function, I have this game setup. I'm trying to pass a function pointer that returns a value, and I want that value to be the player, basically. But that doesn't really work. Like maybe it's possible to make it work some way, but it just seems like overly complicated. It's not really a good way of dealing with it. So rather than doing that, I think it's better to have a public game state. So if we already have a state, if I could find that. We're already having this state that we're using like in many places. But I'm thinking we need actually another game state. Yes. And in here, we can have our group player. Then the game state can be it can be living in the state, and then we can just pass that around. So how do we want this to work? Well, we also need an enum. Some kind of flag system. And in here, we're having like main menu or start menu. You know, could be state level 1 or whatever. And also invalid. So when the game starts, we're having the state flag in here. And it's going to be invalid. So we can, in our game update here, this has to be void for some reason. But in here, we basically just do a switch. Yeah, unhandled. Okay. So right now we have 3 states. Invalid, which is at the start. We have the start menu before we started the game. And then we have, some kind of gameplay. So for invalid, we want to run this. I'm wondering maybe I should keep this game set up because it's maybe useful for something different. Like, for example, these settings, as you can see. But this UI button would be in here. And then later, we're setting the state to the start menu. Left to right. Our button font. I think that makes sense. So we just keep this here for now. I will think more about how to organize it later. But then we have maybe right. Hmm. Mm. The width here doesn't make a lot of sense. The height doesn't make a lot of sense. I feel like the width and height doesn't really belong in here. Where were these coming from again? Right, alphabet H. We also want to change. In main, we are having main H. It's not there? Oh well. Oh, we still have some warnings. Here also. Width 500, height 0, whatever. Huh? All right. So when we boot, we create this button and then we set the state to be the start menu. And then we just break here all the time. We can see how that looks like. This is just old code. We don't really care about it. Delete. No, I don't care. I don't want to loop through all of the entities and and run their functions, even if they're not. I just want to do it for groups. And I guess I want to do that regardless. Right. Then this function let's just do nothing here. Okay. It says hello when I click it. It does it once and then it shuts off and it never does it again. I guess what I really want to do here is I give it a function pointer, and then I give it some void data. And the click function, or maybe it's in group. I don't want to return anything. It's just too overly complicated. Let's call it now nobody can be confused. The function to run on click is that, and the data for the function is this. And then we set up the rest of the function. So whatever we give here, or rather, when we click the button, this function runs. And it's going to run the function to run on click with the data for the function to run on click. We are asserting that the return function, the return of that function is a success. And then we say that it's been pressed. I think that's all good. And what is the function that we are running? We are running this. Okay. So this function now, as you can see, we should be still running this. Hello. It only happens once because we're never resetting the pressed function. I'm just thinking about what to do exactly. So I can delete the button, but then I need to know what button called me to delete. And I might have multiple other buttons that I need to delete. I don't really want to do that. So maybe I just make a function to delete everything, all the entities and groups and components. So this function, a group player creates, we are actually having a i32 start game function. Maybe this goes into the group here. So we have destroy, but we also have destroy all to sort of reset the entire game state. So if I do this, then all entities and all groups should be destroyed. Components, I think no. Uh, Oh. Aha, okay, okay. Doesn't make a lot of sense. That does make a lot of sense to put it like that. Why are we not creating this? Oh, the scale is 0? Let me first just see in RenderDoc if we are trying to draw this or not. No, we're drawing nothing. So most likely this group is not added to the list again. We have this group count -1. Well, that's no good. So somehow we are destroying more groups than we have. The free slot count is negative. The active count is 0. So already when we arrive, we're having one group active and we have 0 slots free. We delete the entities. And we get the total number of groups that we need to go over. Now it's 1 because we only have 1. I think this is supposed to be plus plus. But even then, this logic is wrong. So essentially what this is if the index that we're looking at is at the end of the active count, I have this list here, groups. And it's having some number of entries. And if the thing that I'm deleting is the thing that is at the end of the list, so imagine that I have 15 slots and the thing I want to, or rather, I have 15 entities, so 0 to 14. And the thing I want to delete is right here at the very end. And there's nothing beyond. I can just delete this thing here. So I think this is the actual logic that I was trying to do. If that's not true, then I'm creating a free slot. So I'm adding that slot to my free slot count. Hello, Vespacoen. The order, I can swap the last item with the one I want to remove. Yeah, I already have a system without swaps. I'm just thinking about the problem is here that, okay, now I'm adding a free slot. So when I do this, this will still be 1. Although, no, this is not running because I'm not creating a free slot. I'm just reducing the active count. Yes, I think that works. I have to double check that my entity is not doing the same. Destroy. Yeah, this is supposed to be active count minus minus. But I'm doing that here. Maybe I just do this. So we're deleting the thing. We're at the very end of the list. We just remove that. I feel like I can't really do this logic in my head. I need to run through every possible scenario. But we will do that eventually. So now this is 0 and 0. It's not negative. We are returning and everything is good. Okay. So let's see. I have 0 groups. No, I added 1 group more. Or again. This is the button. It hasn't been deleted. Fair enough. And this is supposed to be the player. Index not equal to group count -1 is not the end of the list. Well, okay, so let me go over it real quick. I have 2 lists. They work similarly to a heap. This is my main array. And these are free indexes. When I'm allocating here, 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 here. They're all the same size, so that's completely fine. Then I delete something here. I'm adding this offset 0, 1, 2, 3 to my free indexes list. Then I'm deleting this one. So I'm adding 1 here. Then when I'm adding groups or objects again, I'm looking in here and I'm grabbing the last one and I'm deleting that. So I'm adding that there. And then this one I'm deleting. I'm adding something here again. Now, if I'm looking at the indexes and I have deleted this one, the offset of this one, the maximum size that I have to look up, is including this one. I can't just say, well, right now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 active. I have to count the free index entries as well. So now it becomes 7. And I'm looking at all of them. And then what happens is, if I'm trying to delete something in this situation, I am checking, is the target, is the target 7 here? i.e. the same as the offset plus the free indexes? Or the active count plus the free indexes? If it is, we just delete that. We can just delete it straight out. Because the alternative would be that it's somewhere in the middle. Like here, we delete this. We have to add it to the free index. So the question is that what this logic is doing? I'm having an active count. It can go down to 0, but I have still a bunch of free slots open. And what is this? Del I. So aside from the fact that num is not defined here, you're saying this is the number of entries in the list, and then I'm copying the last entry into the thing that is here. The problem is this is not the only thing. The thing is also that I am having, let's see, here for example, I am having children, and those children are having pointers. Can I have the definition rather than the declaration? Well, these children are having also, like, it's a bunch of memory, and rather than copy pasting all of the new indexes and pointers every time I'm deleting something, I would rather just free up that slot. And the next time I'm creating something new, I know that that slot is free. So I'm going to use that as my index. Because the problem is that this is not my only thing. All of these entries are having 3 levels of indirection, or like 3 levels of dependencies. I don't know how do you say it. So this entry here could point to this one and also to this one. And then this one could point to that, and this one to this one, and also here. And then when I am delete, if I want to take this and I want to move it here, then okay, that works because it's still pointing down. But what if I want to delete here? Like I want to delete this one and I want to move this thing down. Well, anything that is pointing to that, or no, even better. Let's say I am deleting this thing. Then I need to copy paste this here. I can actually select it. But now this pointer needs to be updated to point to the new target. And rather than doing that, I think that the system that I'm having is fairly simple and robust, if that makes sense. So again, if this is the end of the list, we don't do this because we are not opening up a free slot, except in the case when the last, if it's the very, very first one, if this active count is 0, then I guess we can put the free slot count to 0 as well. And, you know, maybe memset. I don't really care enough to memset, but like this free slot count, the free slot count can be 0 if the active count is 0, because then nothing is in the list anyway. So that's one thing that I could do. And I could do that for entities as well. But yeah, if we compile this, I'm having some errors apparently. Oh, the thing that I copied from you. I want to know why I am not creating my player. So we have destroyed everything. These are all 0. 0, 0, 0 for everything. We're creating something. So we have the scale here. It doesn't have a function yet. It doesn't have children yet, but we're creating some children. We're giving them attributes, like for example, an ID. They have different IDs, as you can see. And they are having different components. This one is having some components, position. This one is having, well, it should have a mesh. Maybe this function is not entity. This is something. We are not using this. I hope that is all I needed to do. We have our player. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Player is set, return. This is the click function we return. Now, notice that this group count is already set. So we're not adjusting the group count. But you could imagine that something is changing the group state or entity state. and then it gets put somewhere in the list such that it executes later in the same loop. That's something that I would like to avoid. And the way I want to avoid that is by having multiple copies of the game state. It's fine because it's not that much memory. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want to have some kind of multi-threading, separating the physics from the rendering. So right now that is a bug, possible bug in here. It could potentially even create some kind of infinite loop if I would leave it like that. But that will be dealt with by the fact that the state that we are changing should be different from the state that we are currently on. So we're having 3 states, one that we're on, one that we are changing, and then a third one that is used for rendering currently. And then we swap between them in the order that, the physics loop is running, the rendering loop is running, and then we are preparing some new state. And it's just like swapping between those like pages over and over. Yeah. And again, the same count here, we're marking for deletion or something like that. So did we delete that? We didn't mark. We didn't mark this function for deletion. So where would it make sense to put that? Because I'm not really adding a reference to itself. When I get to start game, the function that we are running on click, it takes void data. It doesn't really do anything with it. I could add a reference to itself, but then I would do that for every button, essentially. I can loop in reverse and delete. I'm not sure how that would change anything. The deletion here, this deletion, no, is it? Here. This loop just checks if the deletion boolean was set in the group that I want to, like if it's set in the group, and if it's set, then I'm deleting the group. And I would do that in the function that it's running, for example. Now, I don't necessarily want to delete the button that I'm clicking on every time. But do I want to add a reference to the button group itself? Possibly. So there would be three parameters. Where is this again? In the group? This we can delete, I think. Yeah, this is group function to run on click. And the target is start game. Caller, I guess. Now, the funny thing is, like, I'm destroying everything. So this button is already destroyed anyway. So I guess this is unused. But in another situation, we could call it something. So next time we're arriving here, we process messages if we have any, probably nothing. The state flag is currently start menu. I guess we never set that. But it doesn't do anything at the moment, so never mind that. Then we are going through our groups again. So we have one active, one free. The group in question doesn't have a function pointer, so we're not running anything. But this is for sure the triangle 3 and 4, as you can see. This is the one with the mesh. Yep. It's not marked for deletion, so nothing happens there. There's some weird offset. Okay. So we do have the triangle in the corner there. Let's say start game. The translation is at 500. Here we go. Although it's not rotating towards my mouse. So why are we... We are adding this function there. Oh, I see what's going on. So we're never running this because we are only looking at the group function state. Children is not a big array. I can show you. I'm having my group here. I allow 7 children. Although that could be 8, you know, I don't know. And I am thinking that rather than accessing the memory of 8 children, it's pretty fast to just check if they are 0 or not. So like you might say that I can have a child count and then I do it for every child. But at this point, I feel like this is simple enough. That's something that I could, you know, measure if it makes a difference at all. For 8 children, I'm thinking maybe it will make no difference at all. But I agree. If there would be 256, then yeah, for sure, I would have a count. So every entity, and it always goes here, which is pissing me off. But entity H here, it takes itself and it takes the state. Maybe it should take some data as well. Or actually, no, it shouldn't take data. Or should it? I don't know. I think maybe this is the case where I have to start using it to be able to see what I want to do, because either I add a data function pointer here or I have some sort of void star fn data like I do in the groups. But I just have to like use it to find out what makes sense. So we have all the children are entities. We go through every entity. If they are having a function, then we are running it. And now it's, well, it's rotating around rotating around here, I think. So the reason why I know why. I know why. The group is at 500, but then I add 500 to the triangle as well. So this is the world position and this is the local position, but I want the local position to be 0 in relation to the group. Here we go. Although it's still rotating around around here. Mm-hmm. So I guess this function is taking the entity position not in relation to the group. Excuse me. Yeah, it just takes the self. But the entity doesn't know who is the owner. And I would like to keep it that way because I don't want entities to be necessarily tied to the groups. So then I don't necessarily want the group to rotate. I want the group to be, like if that's a player, it's always in the same spot. And I can move it around. But if it's rotating, that should only be affecting the 3D model and possibly the hitbox or something like that. So this function, entity rotate towards mouse, obviously the entity position is not enough. Then this function needs to know what are we rotating from and towards. So either this hover, so the problem is the hover position here is the global window position where I'm having the mouse. So like here would be 0, 0, here would be 1,000 by 1,000 or something like that. This is at 0, but the offset of the group itself is 500, 500. So I'm comparing the local transform of the triangle compared to the group, which is 0, to the global position of the mouse wherever I'm doing this. So either I translate the global mouse position to be local in the group before I call it. Then I would have to do a bunch of stuff here. Ideally, it would just know, or I would like throw in some data. So this is where I think I do need to have I32, or rather void star fn data. And the fn data in this case that would be the group translation. Maybe just the group itself. So the entity doesn't care who the owner is, but the function care about what the data is. And the data is for the player, it makes sense. Just give the group. For something different, I'm not sure. But I can give that, and then this entity rotate towards mouse. It's taking, well, it's taking itself. I mean, it's taking some data. Type definition. Aha. So I was going to the definition, but actually I should go to type definition. That's nice. Thank you. So yeah, this data, I'm assuming this is true. So then the delta we're comparing is the parent translation XY. And yeah, I don't know, maybe it's not negative. We'll see. Actually, it doesn't need this because it has it. That works. Here we go. So I'm creating a player. I can rotate it around. I would rather not check for the input of A. Now it's always just looking towards the mouse. And then we have the angle. We can add some, we can go towards the mouse if we are doing this input A. Now this is some trigonometry. What could it be? Like V3 0.01 F. I need some kind of unit vector that I'm rotating towards this angle. So this is where I forget my math, my vector math. And let's go to the dependencies, handmade math. There's no like towards. So the dot product gives us the angle between two vectors. Right? Cosinus theta is equal to the dot product divided by the length of each. I do forget it. I have done so much vector math. I forget the exact way to do it. So specifically what I want is this. I'm having my origin. Let's make it red. This is where the player currently is. I'm having my mouse position. That is there. Because of the mouse position, my spaceship is rotated this direction. So now we are having, you know, some angle here, theta. Maybe I'm making it too small. This is my x. No, rather, and this is y. This is x. Here's some angle. We can call this A1, A2. I'm ignoring the Z for now because it's not like you would just add that as a 0 in 2D, and it's 3D anyway. It's not really important for the math because I'm having functions for the math anyway. But yeah, I'm having some angle here. This angle is the magnitude of this, which is a unit vector. So it's this cosine this to get the x. And I can also have the distance. So here's the distance. And I can calculate that with very simple vector math. The A1, A2 minus B1, B2. Then I get this size. And I can similarly do this with sine to get that. Or it's, yeah, this one or this one. Now I'm saying I have some unit vector. Like the unit vector, it doesn't have to be one. It's just like some value that I'm creating, like 0.1 or something. I want to rotate that by the same angle and add that position to my current position. So this V3 I can do this with matrix multiplication, but then I need to store that matrix somewhere because you can just like add operations like that. So is there something like rotate? rotate right hand. Yeah, this axis. So we are having the angle, right? So I need to do something like rotate right-handed. I forget. Am I using left-handed or right-handed? I think I'm using right-handed. Math. Yeah, I'm using right-handed. So I need the same function, but in the V3. It just takes an angle. Around an axis, and I get a matrix back. That's not what I want. Okay, here we have some quaternions. I haven't implemented quaternions yet, but this is sort of what I want, I think. So the right-handed version is the one we want. It's this one. We're having inputs the vector. We're having the axis. And we're having the angle. So first we're having, well, vec maybe. Vec, axis, and I think I can just put in angle like that. I don't need to cast it or anything. Poison this one. Try to use this. We want to rotate this one in the so right-handed. It's this way, I think, with Z coming towards me. So 0, 0, 1. The angle is ang, and we get back a, well, we get val back. What is wrong here? Expected expression. Oops. Yeah. So is it the macro that is wrong? Too many arguments. You give me back vec 3. Oh, it doesn't give me back anything. It just takes the thing and rotates it. What do you mean? Do I have to wrap it? Too few arguments. There's 3. V axis angle. I think it's something wrong with my macro. Let's try to use it directly. And it returns attempt to use poison. Okay. There. Something happened to my language server, I think. I think it's not doing anything. Okay. The point is that this actually does work. So what is wrong with my macro? Can I not do this? I can. What's the issue? That's the issue. So let's find out. Entity, rotate, I want to go right. So we have velocity, it's, some value. Axis is that. We rotate it towards. So this is now almost 0. Okay. I think there's something about this is wrong, but I should expect at least the triangle to move. Like I'm expecting it to move. $500. Oh, I'm never saving. Didn't save the results. Yeah, now you can see it's moving to the right always. So maybe make it larger. These are pixel units. So let's try to rotate again. Okay, it's rotating, but around it, like orbiting. So the vector I'm calculating is the vector to the right when I'm above. So this should be -1. You wish no discard was the default so you can't make the mistake of not assigning it? Yeah, possibly. Is that something that I can set in C, in Clangd? Clangd tidy. So there's some things that I can use for it. It's just sometimes you would call a macro and it's just editing the thing in place, and other times it returns a value. So, dumb mistake, but never mind. Did I even compile? Oh. It's not the right direction still. So, what angle then? Has to be set on a per function basis. Well, this is introduced in C++ 17. I don't know if I can use that in Clang. Let's see. Yeah, with C23, I don't think I'm using C23. I believe I'm using 11, but I'm not 100% sure of that. I have to set it for every single case. And even then, I don't know if it would work because this is a macro and it's just calling a function that doesn't have it. And the reason for this file to exist is specifically because I don't want to rewrite anything inside math, inside handmade math. I don't want to touch this, but I still want to use my own type names and function names without using HMM all the time. Yeah. But I see what you mean. Like, it sounds like it would be a nice compiler warning at the very least. Just sets, because I have all warnings enabled basically. Where's my build? Where are my warnings? Am I blind? Yeah, C11 is my standard. Am I stupid? Where am I warning? Am I not really using any? That's confusing. I was sure I'm all pretty much always I'm building with all warnings as errors. What is it complaining about? Sign compare. Sometimes uninitialized. Okay, so I guess I forget to do that. I will do that at some other point. But yeah, we need to find out which direction. I think that's just because my compilation failed. No? Where's my... Where are my triangles, dude? Because it's 0. I guess the angle is wrong. It's either this or it's like 90 minus the angle. Although this angle, it should be in pi, in radians, right? So that would be pi 32 half minus angle. No, it's in rotations. I'm stupid. It's in rotation, so I don't use pi at all. So it's 1/2. And it might be plus. Oh. I can brute force this, guys. It's no problem. It's like it's mocking me. Is it a quarter? One? Oh. It's some like arc, like tangents going on. I wanted to go towards the mouse, but there we go. So what happened here is I was having I was having a point, and I was adding a vector to the right, and then I was having another point here, and this entire thing, if you imagine it's a circle, I'm rotating this towards here, but I wasn't rotating it like, well, I can't rotate this now. I wasn't rotating it like this. I'm rotating it like this. So then whenever I was clicking, it was going sideways. So the solution obviously is to take this part and rotate left, or rotate like that. So math has been solved. Now we have gameplay, actual gameplay. So what I would like to do now is, well, first we are pushing. And now I want to fix the WASM build. So let's see. It's basically just the same issue 3 times over. And I can use my Windows as the base. Or is my message loop? Window proc here. So we have VML button down. Which is basically the same as touch start. So we do this. X and Y, huh? I forget a little bit how this works. Touch ID. The touch ID is like the number of fingers that you have on the, like here. On my phone, if I'm using this program in a browser, the first finger I put down has touch ID 0, and then the second one has touch ID 1. I can't track if I'm using the left or right thumb, but I can track which one was the second one to be touching. That's what that is. And then I'm checking if it's the same one. But this is what I want to do. I want to get the X and Y regardless. Oh, I see. So every touch has its own position. That's why this is a little bit more complicated. So I only want to track the first touch, right? So if this is the first touch, yeah, that is working. That is fine. Mouse start. So here's the problem. You have touch start on something like a phone, and then you have mouse start on something on like a browser on the computer, and they both have to be able to work. Left button only. So for hover start, I only have button state right now. touch move, mouse move. So I do want to track the X and Y for mouse always. But do I want to move the messages there? Okay. So what we're going to do, we're just going to like send messages over and over and over again. What I was doing in window is I'm processing the messages, and then I am after I'm done processing all the messages, then I push one message with the like final hover position, and then one message with the final button state. And I think that's fair. You know, if the game runs at 60 FPS, and you happen to click and unclick faster than that, then it doesn't register as a click. Never mind. I don't really care. It's not that it's not that precise of a game. And if I really wanted to, I could process the input on a separate thread at like 240 hertz, and then the game would still run at 60. So I'm not too concerned about that. For now, I would like to have either mouse start or touch start. So either I'm using touch or I'm using mouse, and I will just send a bunch of messages, and the game can handle the result for now. So here, mouse start, we're always sending a message. Message hover, right? No, what is this? State, message. Ah, I see. MSG is small. Command is message hover. And then we are doing something like, well, if the button is 0, this is the mouse start is when you're clicking, like the moment that it goes down. So if it's this one, then I'm doing the same as here. In window, peak message. Where was it? Here, button A. And I guess it doesn't have a button state. So I'm just going to do the same thing as for Windows. We're having input, button state. Here, U64 button state, and then hover XY. I should change that to standardize it maybe. Because graphics I'm doing differently and I don't really like to have multiple ways of doing it. Now we have window. So we can set the button state. And at the end of all of them, we're doing left button and we're doing right button. I can't remember. I think this was defined in WASM. Do I have a game in mind or am I just focusing on the engine? I have said this before. I am doing the first thing I'm doing is an asteroids clone. So this is step one. You know, have a triangle fly around and shoot aliens and rocks or something like this. Then I want to add some more complex systems. I want to go 3D. But basically, this is the first thing I need to do just to get a sense of how the entity system works. If I'm doing something really stupid about the design, once that's working, I want to expand it just so that you can control this ship in 3D. You can mine the asteroids. You're having more complex physics, something like that. So that's where I'm working towards. It's still going to be like a simple game, but I feel like it could be interesting. But because this is my first fully fledged engine, I just want to like the first thing I want to do is have something that is as simple as possible, so that I am not, you know, painting myself into a corner, and then I realize that what I'm doing is going to be really horrible, and then I have to like redesign the whole thing. That's what I want to avoid. So we're having a left button and right button. And also, like, this is my first time using WASM and the Emscripten, so I don't know how it works. So I have to try to do something like I'm just pulling some very simple button A, button B. I know on a browser you can connect game controllers, but I'm imagining that I would like to have it running on a phone. So what do you have on a phone? You have two fingers basically that you can reliably have. So then should I have a system where I have some kind of controller on the bottom when it detects that it's on the phone? Should I make it controllable with just two fingers like that? Should I have, you know, this thing where have you played any mobile games where you start using your thumb and a virtual joystick appears in the place where you put it, and then you can move around and jump? So like that's sort of what I'm going towards with it, with the input specifically. But you know, imagine that I would have a huge grand project that I would spend 100 hours on the Emscripten part, and then I realize, oh wait, shit, I don't know how to do the input that I want, and it doesn't work. Then all of that would be just kind of wasted work. So I want to see like what is the minimum product that I can make with things that the minimum product that I can make, like for graphics, input, and everything, have something that's working, and then expand on top of that. Yeah, button A is 0, button B is 1. Then at the end of that, we are pushing our message. So this is mouse start. and this is mouse end, I think they're just going to be the same function, honestly. Start and end. Because they're not doing anything differently. Then mouse move. Is this the same as well? No, because the mouse, well, I guess that's the thing. This mouse starts. I see. This only goes in here if it's button A, because we're only tracking that for now. Button B, I can still track for clicks, but not the position. So that makes sense. You got lazy with the Emscripten build and just used their SDL web bindings, translation, whatever. So whatever it is, SDL just works on the web. Yeah, but they're using something to make it work. So like the reason I didn't choose SDL was because I didn't want to write shaders and draw. I didn't want to like write to their virtual GPU kind of model and their shader language that is cross compiled. I wanted to actually work with OpenGL and maybe DirectX or Vulkan. I'm not sure. And if you actually look at my entire project, like sure, this is a lot of files, not that many files, but still. My main function is having, defined Win32 or Emscripten. And the only thing really that I've gotten to so far, it might change if I need to play audio or something like that. But like I have my window function, and the only thing the window function does is process Windows messages. And then I have my WASM functions. And the only thing the WASM stuff does is it sets up my callback functions that is basically the same as the messages in Windows, like here. And then I'm setting my game update to be on a timer. And that's it. So the actual platform layer of it is so simple. You can write it in a couple of 100 lines for each platform. And then my main function, it's a little bit more involved. But because everything is using OpenGL right now, and OpenGL is shared between them, this part is complicated, but it's shared. So I only had to write it once. If I would like to add DirectX, then, that's another function. That's another library where I have to have, my primitive create function and things like this. So that would be another 1,000 lines or so. But it's actually crazy to me how easy it is to write platform independent code and just run it, because everything else, like it's just a couple of 100 lines to get your window and input, maybe audio. It depends. I haven't gotten to it yet. And then everything else is platform independent. So it just runs. You don't use any STL rendering stuff? I see. So you're using STL for inputs and audio, maybe? Yeah. Like the thing is, I felt like using STL I would just learn to use STL, or I would use Emscripten. And the choice for me was Emscripten seems simpler, and you're closer to the actual thing that you're working with, and the actual platform code is pretty simple. So it just made sense to me, rather than learning SDL and then I'm having updates, and SDL3 is a little bit early, so not be fully supported with 3D and things like that. So I feel like, input and window management are fairly simple things of most programs, or at least you write it once and use it all the time. So like SDL is maybe nice for a beginner project, but I would like to think I'm a little bit more advanced than that. But yeah. So we are having our touch start here. Again, I think this is going to be, or not touch start, mouse start. Again, this is the same code. Or is it? Num touches. Mouse move. So again, if the mouse is moving, we are only tracking it. I don't remember how this works exactly. So the mouse is moving, but I don't necessarily know if the buttons, like this is probably not true. Maybe I'm not tracking the buttons here. Because moving the mouse is just moving the mouse. Doesn't matter what the buttons I'm pressing is. Then mouse and that can be the same, I think. You used to have SDL desktop plus Emscripten and Win32, but you dropped Win32 because there was no point in having it. If you already had SDL, sure. But I made a different program. This one. And the cool thing about this is that the user interface here is not Windows. This is my own buttons and things like this. So I can open up some photo. Or did I crash? Great. It crashed. Why did it crash though? That's crazy. I think I know why. I have to go to a I have to run it from this folder, I think. What? Why the fuck is it crashing? Maybe I wasn't testing it enough. Anyway, this is my own like window management system thing, and it's actually crazy. You can do a lot of cool things, and this is sort of the management system that I wanted to use for Windows in general for my programs. And I wrote it once. It works well. The reason it's crashing is something completely different. But the issue with this one specifically is that it's using DirectX. So like I could have a wrapper for the window and I have my own, sort of window class. And as long as I can open a window at all, then everything else can be my own code. And then I have my portable window on any platform. It's just for my game jam engine. Well, if it's a game jam, you're hard pressed for time. So you want to get things, you don't want to care about implementation. You just want to be able to like go. So either you have everything already prepared, or you use an engine, because like who the hell has time for making an engine while running in a game jam? Maybe if it's a game engine jam, that would be cool. But yeah, I get you. The most important thing for me is that I am running natively on Windows, and I'm not using some kind of, browser to open my game, like a browser wrapper or something like that, like Discord is, because they don't know how to make window applications anymore. No one knows. Anyway, touch move. That's another thing about SDL. So for example, how does SDL know that you want the mouse to work one way and touches to work another way? I'm assuming it doesn't. So then you have to set up SDL to work the way that you want. But for me, I can just write the code that I wanted immediately and not have to care. So even though you feel like maybe you are saving sometimes on the like booting of a new project, sometimes if you want to edit the way that the touches and mouses are working in SDL, maybe you need to do something very complicated, or even change the source. I'm not sure. I'm gonna ignore touches for now because I forget what I'm doing. I hope that should compile. No. Invalid suffix. Huh? Is that not correct? So you have you for unsigned. I forget how this works. This is a real thing, same as this one. But I think like Emscripten is complaining about it, and I'm not sure why. It might be some extension that is not actually part of the spec, or maybe the Emscripten one is not using C11, so it's not part of it. If I do this, it should work. No. Yeah, it's a non-standard extension. So I guess what I need to do is just say it's an L. And this is a short. So apparently I should just delete it. Like I can delete it and cast it. Although I think the types are afterwards, so I would have to move this down. That's crazy though, because it was never complaining about it before. I can keep L though. UL. ULL. Or is it LLU? I always forget this stuff. I think it's ULL. Actually, this is not U. This is LL, ULL. They both work. Okay. So long, unsigned long. For U64 or I64, I think it's not necessary. But the other ones it might be. Huh? Ah, this is a U32 because this is the size of U16. I see. This is a U32, is it? And they should all be signed. The signed ones should be signed. The unsigned ones should be unsigned. Unsigned, unsigned. This is signed. 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 Unsigned. All right. It's taking forever. Okay. Our start button is too high. So let's start. Let's put it somewhere sensible. I'm clicking it, but nothing is happening. So probably it's not getting the positions correct. Start. And end. So let's see what we get. No, nothing. It's never called. Oh, it's never called because of this damn new line. All right. So we are moving the mouse. The values are correct. Or no, they are negative. So probably I can click here. This is at 500 something. 500 by 500. So 500 by 500 is here. But I still can't click it. Missing new line. Well, the thing is just, it's not about that it will print it and it's hard to read because there's no new lines. It's rather this output, the ones that you can see here. These are not printing at all if you don't have new line. Like it just doesn't, it's just pushed onto some stack or something. And then it goes nowhere. So that's something that has happened to me many times. I'm trying to print something and then I forget the new line and then there's no messages. Not that they are like formatted badly. It's just that they are not printing at all until you get one new line and then everything comes at once. I don't know why it's working like that. But yeah, we are clearly getting the mouse move and we're getting the mouse start and end. CF flush. Yeah. I think I was reading something about it. Don't do F flush. I don't know what I'm reading. What is F flush? Calls force the output to standard output. See, the thing is, I'm kind of oblivious to the Emscripten implementation. I don't care. I don't really care about JavaScript. And I don't really want to deal with it as much as possible. That's why I'm using Emscripten. Otherwise I might be crazy enough to just compile to WASM myself and do the bindings myself. But I don't want to do that. I do want to use something so that I can just have my C library or like my C code, compile it, and everything else is automatic. the new line triggers the flush for you. So as long as you add new lines, I'm good without flushing anything. Okay. Yeah, I'm sure that makes sense to someone developing for browsers in general. But like, maybe that's something that people can help me out with, because I have my game here, right? But I haven't been able to figure out how do I debug my code. There is some way to do it where I can inspect the values without printing them. But I have tried like 3 times and I haven't been able to figure it out. So I was able to get to read the code itself, but I wasn't able to read my, here. So this is a binary. And I was able to read the code and add a breakpoint, but I wasn't able to read the actual memory here. So yeah, we are doing something wrong. Could it be the buttons are not properly? We should be sending this. Let's go to here, right? And let's just say if state input A print hello. That was the Windows version. Oh, it says hello all the time. So I think I'm not releasing it. You did spot a mouse end in the logs at some point. Yeah. So the messages here are working, but I think my push message is not working in some way. So because you can see here, I keep closing the window for some reason. So I'm moving and everything is good. I click once and I have a bunch of hellos because my input is down. But then I move the mouse out of the way. It still says hello. So it means that the input is still down. And it's never going up. Is the button state variable ever cleared? Well, it's not. It's cleared on mouse end. Or rather, no, it's not. Copy paste mistake. This is what we're doing. So I never clear it. Still, the button should work. No. The button should be working. Okay, now it's not printing all the time. So I can... Something like it should be triggering the game. because it's, or rather it should be triggering here maybe. Let's see. I think the Y is incorrect maybe. Because in Windows, this is my hover location. I guess I want to use the same function actually. I see what is going on. Okay. So here I am printing the values that I get, but I am packing them differently in Windows than in Emscripten. Here I'm using U64s and U32s or I32s, but actually the system I'm using is using I16s and a U32 to pack them. So this can be in my wasm as a function also above all these. Cert, error, print, callback. Redefinition. Where are you defined? Nowhere. You are wrong, my friend. It says error, redefinition of hover location. Previous definition is here. Huh? Okay. Well, I guess the compiler won this time. Yeah, we are getting the hover location. And this is an int. It's probably I60. It's probably I32. Yeah, that should be fine. X and Y. Isn't the way I cleared the bit wrong? I did and not value. Shouldn't it be? Oh, yes, you are correct. So this is getting a 0. And so I'm just clearing the entire state. I didn't notice because I don't have enough buttons and I haven't been... which one there? I haven't ran into any issues because I'm only really using one button. Yeah, thank you for that. Hover, hover, hover. All right. So now, huh? Okay, not now. Undefined symbol, hover location. It's here, dude. Do I need to add it to my header file? I thought inline was basically like static, so you didn't need to include it. Or am I not adding in window or main? Am I not adding the C here? Wasn't Windows C? Weird. So it's saying that I have an undefined symbol hover location, and then it spits out this garbage. But am I using it in the game? I'm using it in wasn't window and window source, and they are exclusive. So like I'm using one or the other depending on what I'm building. And I have the definition on line 17, and then I'm using it under that in the same file. And I even added it to my header file now. Now, this is the implementation. It's right here in the same file that I'm using it. It's here, there, and there. Same file. And normally I would expect that I'm not adding inline functions into a header file. Like I would assume. But if the compiler wants it, I can give it. But it doesn't fix the issue. So I don't know why it's having a temper fit. Do I need to put the entire thing here? See, the thing about Emscripten is that it's going through like some extra paths with some extra things. You can see here is the actual thing that is executed on the like EMCC program. And I'm not doing that. So like maybe they're having some restrictions on, there's some differences in how the C is built. But I don't see why this will not work. Where's the usage? It's right here. It's in callback functions. But like, why would it optimize out? Like, I'm literally setting my callback functions in my init. This is called from the main function. So this is definitely executed. It's setting the functions for the callbacks, and these callbacks are defined in Emscripten. So you know when I start touching, when I stop touching, when I move while touching, and same thing for the mouse. So it's just different functions. I could put the same function here 5 times and it would be working the same. And then those are all in the same file. O0, but I am using that. That's what I'm doing. You can even see it here. It might be a little bit small on the stream, but that's definitely -O0. So I don't know why that would be an issue. I can call it static if that makes the compiler happy. That works. So, okay. Maybe it's some kind of strictness setting for inline specifically. All right. So yeah, let's do. Do I do this here or there? It's annoying. Maybe. So here's what I need. I need to have the window size in Y because I need to invert it. So I can just take the window and then everywhere I'm calling it, I pass in the window. So it looks a little bit different from the Windows function because in the Windows function, I'm just setting these and calling it once, so I'm not bothering with adding the window size anywhere other than the function definition. That's fine. Static inline should also work. Well, the question I'm having is, like, I can do this, but if I'm doing this, why can I not add it to my header file? Like here. Why is that not working? Wasn't window H. It's right there. It always needs a body, but it's there. Here it is. So then you're just telling me that I can't use inline without static. Because I did this as well, and it was also not working. Make it make sense. What was I doing? Yeah, all these hover locations, they need to have the window, which it does have. Emscripten issues. What is this? Huh? Funny. I clicked on that link and I think it opened in OBS. So this is now it's like a browser within a window in OBS. Inline functions are being wrongly eliminated. Standard C crap. So it's because I'm using O0 that it's not working. Oh, that's interesting. Anyway, I don't care. I want it to be static anyway. So like I'm good with that. But I will try to remember that for next time. So yeah, let's try. Maybe now it finally works. I can click here. Nothing is happening. I go here, click. No. It's still down here. No. Did I do the math wrong? Oh, it's not hover, of course. It's the window or whatever. Size. Bottom. I got to take a leak, so let's. Yes. And it does go. It's a little bit glitchy. I don't know. Buggy. Laggy. Yeah, I'll be right back. I just got to go to the bathroom real quick. Okay, so now this is working. It's very slow. I think it's because of the messages. The messages really they really take a lot of processing on a browser, I guess. Okay. And then the frame rate here, I'm setting it somewhere. Let's put it at 60. Let's put this one also at 60. It might have something to do with it. The reason they are different is because I wanted to be able to run the physics at one rate and the frame rate at one rate. Yeah, this is 60 FPS. No, it's not 60 FPS. What am I saying? Yeah. That's way faster. You can't see it probably on the stream because the stream is 30 FPS. Where's this print? Hello, you're gone. But you will be able to see that it's moving faster. But it's also smoother. And again, on browser, it's following me. It's still printing hello. Not yoga viewer. I need to come back to that to see what's going on. Woohoo! So yeah, you can see that there's some thing here about using requests. I should use 0 for my frame rate if I want to have my greater frame rates. The problem is right now the physics loop is tied to the frame rate. So that's why I need to separate them later. But hey, like something is happening. I have a button. I can click and I can, I don't know, slide around. So yeah, that is everything that I wanted to get done today. I am wondering what I will be doing next time. Either I am adding some kind of, probably I want to add some enemies. At least that you are like avoiding them. But what we need to do overall, we need to have you know, enemies. So this means that we also need hello. Okay, I guess this is just not what is going on. We need enemies, and for enemies we need some sort of spawn system. We need a collision detection. We need model loading. I'm not gonna like some sort of I don't know. Let's keep it like that for now. And then player, I need some sort of bullet system. So, you know, I'm shooting a bullet and the bullet is interacting with the enemies. This one is huge because this requires an asset system, and the assets should support text, audio, 3D models, textures. Maybe that's it. And then we have like the engine, right? So I want to have multi-threading. I want to decouple render and physics loops. And I want to have a settings file. That's, if I have that, then I can finish this like prototype game that I'm making. But I don't know if this will take 1 day or 1 week. And then this one could take like the entire month because again, asset system. So I need another application to pack the assets, and then I need another function to unpack the asset. But at least I'm not going to be compressing the data manually. So I'm going to be using zlib for that. Yeah, that's it for this stream. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.